Hey everybody, we have another special treat for you today. Noah is going to do another first appearances video, this time for the pieces that were collected in Stephen King's 2002 collection, Everything's Eventual. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Noah to take it away.
Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the first appearances of each of the stories in Everything's Eventual. The first one is Autopsy Room 4, and that story first appeared in 6 Stories, the collection, which I already did a video for, so I'm not going to redo that one. But anyway, we're going to start with the second story, which is The Man in the Black Suit. This story first appeared in the Halloween 1994 issue of the New Yorker magazine. And let's take a peek and see where it is. Page 92. Oops. So here we have the story. And this is the magazine. So, not a ton to say about this, really, other than it's a good story, and this is where it first appeared. So check it out. Next up is All That You Love Will Be Carried Away. This is another New Yorker story. First appeared at the January 29th, 2001 issue of the magazine. With a first, his name's right at the top there. A new story by Stephen King, and it comes with this little half cover, as some of these issues did. This is what the actual cover looks like. And let's take a peek at the story itself. Page 74. And this one has an illustration. So there's the story as it first appeared in this 2001 issue of The New Yorker. So that's what it looks like. And now The Death of Jack Hamilton is the third in a row that was published in the New Yorker magazine. This is the December 24th to 31st. 2001 issue. It also comes with this little half cover, but it's camouflaged to look like the actual cover, which is that. But this one does have Stephen King top billed again with a new story. So let's take a peek at the story. Oh, a lot of ads here. Oh, the iPod. Look at that. Actual size. Let's see. Stephen King, page 76. So there we go. The Death of Jack Hamilton with this photograph there. So there you have it. As it first appeared in December 24th, 31st, 2001 issue of New Yorker magazine. You've got Santa on the cover, and this magazine might be worth buying just for this really cool iPod ad. Actual size, that's how small they were, right? All you young guys, an iPod was a little thing that held all your music before phones came out. And, it took me maybe 10 years to get with the program. I was still listening to cassette tapes in 2001. But that's cool. It's crazy to think that iPods are so old now that to young people, it's like a CD or a cassette tape or a record. Like they don't even know what it is. Anyway, there's the Stephen King story. Okay, so next up is In the Deathroom and 1408, which were both published originally as audiobooks. So it was a It was a audiobook called Blood and Smoke, and I actually have a T-shirt too that came with this thing. This is I believe these are audio cassettes, and this collection contained 3 stories. Other than those 2, Lunch at the Gotham Cafe was the 3rd one, and there was no print edition of this. It was just audio, and it was published in 2000. So that's what that was. And then there was also like a sort of a little ARC kind of edition of it, which is this. This is just like a cassette single, sort of. And I think it's meant to be like a pack of cigarettes, the way it's marketed. This was a promo. This was not sold to the public. You couldn't get it like this. You could only get this version of it. So this is just like a little cassette single, and it does have the full content, all 3 short stories. This was like the tail end of 1999. This was like November 1999, and then this one came out in January of 2000. So there were two ways to get that, and that's Blood and Smoke. And now we're looking at The Little Sisters of Eluria, which was published first in Legends, which is an anthology of short stories edited by Robert Silverberg. This is the trade edition of the book. Let's take a look. Page 17. So King's story is the first one. And these stories were all like tie-ins to series that science fiction, mostly fantasy writers had done. So this is, here it is. So this is obviously the Dark Tower, and this is a really nice trade edition. It's got like really nice colorful end papers, and incidentally, if you want to check to see if your copy is a first printing, it does have a number line that goes down to 1. But what really sucks for me about Legends is that it was also published at the time as a signed limited edition from Tour, which is a large press, and it was done in 2 states actually, a numbered and a lettered, which is really unusual for a large press limited edition. And I was really on top of things back then, but somehow I missed out on it. And this was 1998, so I was like, the internet was not really much of a thing. I mean, I was on, I was a member of Schemers at the time, and, it was all chat rooms and stuff. It wasn't like it is today. And I somehow missed out on those 2 editions of Legends, and I never got them. So they're gaping holes in my Stephen King collection. I tried for years to get them, and now the price is just astronomical, especially the lettered. It's thousands and thousands of dollars. So I may not ever have the limited of Legends, but it does exist, and but sadly I don't have it to show you, so I only have the trade edition. So apologies for that, but this is where Little Sisters first appeared. So next up is Everything's Eventual. This story, the title story from the collection, was first published in the magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction in, what month is this? October, November 1997. And this, the date is only on the spine. But this digest issue is still pretty easily available. That's not what I meant to say. Pretty easily found and affordable. So if you want this, it shouldn't cost you too much. Let's take a look at the story. There we go. Everything's Eventual by Stephen King. What can I say about this? Not too much. It's, he's got a history of publishing stories in this magazine, going all the way back to the late 70s. So, much like with Playboy and the New Yorker, he probably sells them stories out of, a sense of loyalty. That's a supposition on my end, but, they did publish his work when he was much less famous. Anyway, that's that, and I'm going to stop talking because there's more to get to. The next story in the collection is LT's Theory of Pets, and that was first published in 6 stories, which I already did a video for, so you can check that out elsewhere. That brings us to The Road Virus Heads North. The Road Virus Heads North first was published in this anthology called 999, which was published in 1999. And this is a really good anthology. It's a lot of good writers in here. This is the first trade edition of the book. Let's take a peek at the King contribution. If I can open it, if I can find the contents page. Page 83. All right, there we have it. The Road Virus Heads North. If you want to check and see if your copy is a first printing, there should be a price of $27.50 on the copyright page. On the jacket flap. And the copyright page, I believe, does have a printing line on it. Let's check it out. Yep, down to 1 at the bottom there. And that's a first printing. So that's the first American edition of the anthology. This was followed by the first British edition of the book. This one was published by Hodder, Stephen King's publisher over there, and I think the cover is a definite improvement over the plain U.S. cover. This one has a price of $17.99 UK on the jacket, if you can see that there. And the copyright page does have a printing line that goes down to 1. So that's the British first edition of 999. The book was also published as a signed limited edition. It was co-published by Hill House and Cemetery Dance. So this is the numbered estate. It was published in a plain black slipcase. And the book, I have to say I'm not a big fan of this type of book. These things always look to me, the black leather binding with the gold foil stamping all over the front, just always reminds me of those Barnes & Noble classic editions. It looks like something you'd find for, $12.99 in Barnes & Noble, Dracula or Jekyll and Hyde, or, one of those things. And it's just an instant turn off to me, but, that's cool. It does have nice end papers with 999 sort of, gently printed, like almost watermarked all over the place there. And let's see, this one was done in a print run of 500 copies. It was not signed by any of the contributors, which, some people might find to be a turnoff. But here's the limitation page. It's just 1 of 500, not signed by anybody, not even the editor. So, kind of, I don't know. And is it illustrated? It's not illustrated, but it does have these kind of, I opened it right up to Stephen King. Didn't mean to do that. But it has this sort of red page before each contribution. So that's the numbered state of 999. Which brings us to the lettered edition. Here's the lettered edition. Definitely a huge step up. It comes in a dark red tray case, which is very nice. Right away is nicer than the numbered. However, the book itself, is sort of a red version of that Barnes and Noble kind of book. So I'm still not super crazy about the way this looks, but it's okay, I guess. So it's red. The numbered one is black. The inside, the end papers are the same. You'd think for the numbered one, they would get somebody to sign it, but you'd be wrong. Nobody signed it. Like most of Cemetery Dance's lettereds, this is done in a print run of 52 copies. You just get the limitation page, which has a letter on it, and that's it. Nothing else. So no one signed it. No illustrations. In the interior of the book is exactly the same as the numbered. So, I don't believe this was too expensive. I can't remember. Maybe $500 or something like that, which I guess is pretty expensive for the time. But anyway, that's the lettered version of the anthology, and that completes 999. So next up is Lunch at the Gotham Cafe. This was first published in an anthology called Dark Love. This is the first edition of the anthology. This one was published in 1995, fall of 95. And if you want to see if your copy is a first printing, you're looking for a price of $22.95 on the jacket, and a printing line on the copyright page that goes down to 1. There it is. And let's take a look at the King contribution. Lunch at the Gotham Cafe, first one up. Makes it easier to find, very nice. There we go. And that is Dark Love. The book was then published in the UK. Here is the UK first edition. And this one, you're going to be looking for a printed price of $16.99 UK on the jacket, and a printing line that goes down to 1 on the copyright page. This was unsurprisingly published by Hodder and Stoughton in the UK. And that's what the first UK edition looked like. So US and UK Dark Love, no signed limited edition of this one, but there you have it. Next up is That Feeling, You Can Only Say What It Is in French. Was first published in the June 22, 29, 1998 issue of The New Yorker, which looks like that. Let's take a peek. No iPod ads, too early for that. Let's see. Fiction. I should have looked at this before I started the... Okay, there it is. 64. And here we have it. So that's what it looks like. And again, you got John and Yoko on the back. And that's the cover. And that is the issue of this magazine. And I don't have much else to say about it. So there it is. So next up is Riding the Bullet. Riding the Bullet was first published as an ebook, not a print book. And the first time it was published in print was in Japan. This is the book. It's a very small hardcover edition. It cost about $10 when it was published. And it's a foreign language edition. It's in Japanese. I don't normally collect hardcovers. I don't normally collect foreign language editions, but this was one exception because it was the first world appearance of the book, and it was not published in print in the U.S. until much later. Anyway, this was published in 2000 in Japan. You can see there, and I believe it was not published until Everything's Eventual came out. Let's see. Yeah. So Everything's Eventual was 2002. So it was 2 years. It wasn't in print until that, but it was then published as a standalone, maybe 10 years later, from Lonely Road. And Lonely Road did the standalone version of the book, and it was done in 3 different states. This is the trade edition, and it's cool. It's like one of those ace doubles, It's 2 things back to back, and you can see it's printed reverse on the spine. So it's got the story on one side and the screenplay by Mick Garris on the other side. So here's the Stephen King story, and here's the screenplay by Mick Garris, which is really cool, I thought. The trade state of this was $75 when it was first done. This is 2010, so not quite 10 years later, but 10 years after the Japanese edition. Anyway, the Stephen King story is here, but then when you get to the screenplay, it's all upside down, so you have to turn the book over and read it that way. So very, very cool way of doing it. This is the trade state, and then it was done in 2 limited states. We have this one, which is the numbered state. Very nice. It comes in a red tray case. Tray case for a numbered state. Very, very cool. Very classy. The book itself looks like the trade edition. And I believe what's really cool is that the signature page was done in the middle, which is something I don't think I've ever seen it done this way. Nope. Gotta find it. Hang on. Here we go. So the signature page is in the middle, and 500 copies done of the state. This is signed by Mick Garris, and then it's signed on the opposite side, I believe, by the illustrator. I can't read that signature, but definitely not Stephen King. So kind of a cool double-sided signature page there. And that's the numbered one, 500 copies done. And finally, it was a lettered. The lettered came in this really nice silver tray case, kind of puffy, really cool tray case, I thought. The book itself is identical to the other 2, with the exception of, it even has they all have this dust jacket from the trade, $75 price tag there. And let's take a peek at the signature page. So the lettered one, 52 copies. This one is the only one signed by King. So you can see King signed it here above what I'm assuming is the illustrator. It was 52 copies. And Mick Garris signed the opposite side there, which is also lettered, the same letter. So there you have Riding the Bullet in all 3 states, as well as the Japanese trade edition of the story. And finally, we have the Luckey Quarter. The Luckey Quarter was published in USA Weekend newspaper in 95. And it was an insert in the Sunday edition, June 30 to July 2. And what I have is I was able to actually go there and get from them, I went to the Daily News here in New York, and I was able to get from them a couple of unfolded copies of this. I actually sold the other ones. So this is the last one. I've never seen it this way. Typically what they did was they folded this in half to fit into the newspaper. So I've never seen another unfolded one aside from mine. If you have one, it's probably folded down the middle, it has a fold in it. If you have an unfolded one, man, you are very lucky because they're rare. They were not issued this way to the public. If you got this in a newspaper, it was folded. So this is what it looks like unfolded and new. This was never circulated or never sold in the newspaper. So let's take a peek at the story itself. And by the way, USA Weekend published a number of stories this way, and I was able to get unfolded copies of all of them. There was a Clive Barker, there's a Dean Koontz story. So I have a number of these unfolded ones. And here is the Luckey Quarter as it first appeared in this newspaper. And there you have it. And that completes Everything's Eventual. Those are all the stories in their original appearances, with the exception of the ones that I had already done videos for. So thanks for checking it out, and enjoy.